Hyundai recently remodeled the Grand i10 and they've now taken those changes and applied them to their entry compact sedan as well, the Xcent. Now, as you can see, there's significant cosmetic changes on the outsides, there's some changes to the insides, there's a new engine and some suspension tweaks as well. And all of this have given the car a new character. So what those changes exactly are and how do they behave and alter the Xcent, that's what we're here to find out. The cosmetic changes I was talking about, well, the biggest one of them is right here in the front face of the Xcent. It's the new grille. Now this grille, of course, has been inspired or rather borrowed from the Elantra. Those design elements on the Elantra have been taken down, carried forward to the other cars in the segment, in the range as well. However, I do believe that this very arresting and definitely attention-grabbing grille is not something that I entirely like. I definitely think it looks much nicer in the Elantra, which is a large, imposing car. But having flourished down to something smaller like the Grand i10 or the Xcent, I think it's a bit out of place on this size of a car. But keeping in mind that the grille, there have been several changes that have been incorporated into the bumper. There's a lot of remodeling done on the bumper, the front headlamps, and generally the front area itself has gone under a lot of sculptural changes, simply keeping in line with that grille. Apart from that, there's a new engine under that hood, the new 1.2 U2 CRDI diesel. I'll come to that in a moment once I start driving the car. There are also some changes to the interiors of the car. Again, once I'm inside that car, I'm going to talk to you about that. But the significant other change is, of course, at the rear end. Right here, it's definitely a much better rear end than what you'd seen previously. The rear tail lamp, the rear bumper, all of this has been remodeled, has been, it's been given a big facelift and essentially looks much nicer than it did before. Definitely a lot more sporty, a lot more dynamic. But I think it's now time to get into the car and we'll talk about what all this has to offer and what it feels like. Where dimensions are concerned, well, it's still exactly the same as the previous generation car. Nothing has changed. It's still a sub 4 meter compact sedan. But like I said or rather showed you on the outside, there's a lot of cosmetic changes. On the inside again, not much has changed except for a few additions, a few feature additions. There's a new touchscreen and it has a lot of information on display over there. Apart from that, there's some upholstery changes and nothing much else inside this cabin that we really want to talk about in significant detail. Under the hood, there's the 1.2 litre U2 CRDI diesel engine. That's the common rail direct injection diesel engine. And it feels quite refined. Inside this cabin, there's barely any noise. There's nothing that you can hear from the diesel engine. There's absolutely no clatter. It's been very, very well subdued. So I think they've done a fantastic job there. This diesel makes 75 PS of max power with 190 Newton meters of max torque. So a small moderate change compared to the previous generation engine because you've got about 3 PS more than the previous engine, but a significant 30 Newton meters over the older gen. So those 30 Newton meters give it a completely new character because drivability has improved considerably. Fuel efficiency also is better. We achieved about 26.2 kilometers per litre on the highway and roughly about 16 kilometers per litre in the city. But this is a diesel, it's expected to be efficient and I think Hyundai have managed to do a very good job of it. Real world test conditions, our fuel efficiency ratings are extremely high for this car. Well, there has been minor modification done to the suspension. It's been firmed up, so ride quality is a little firmer. There's a little more confidence that you would get from this car. It doesn't wallow, there isn't a lot of body roll. That is quite nicely controlled. So you get a lot more confidence, you get better ride quality. This car just, you can just go over most bumps and it completely absorbs all of those impacts very nicely. Along with that, there's a lot of weight being added to the steering as well. It isn't as light or as flighty as it would seem previously. There's a lot more weight, there's a lot more precision. It isn't vague anymore, and I think that's a big compliment to Hyundai because they've been known for making some of the most vague steerings, lightest steerings, and which aren't really very safe. But The new Accent, well, changes all of that. I think it definitely is a more confident, more sure-footed car than ever before. With the new engine, the better drivability, of course, performance has changed as well. So 0 to 100 now is achieved in 14.1 seconds. That's a marginal increase over the previous generation car. Nonetheless, you aren't really going to look for a lot of performance out of this car. It is it's a very functional car in that sense. For those looking for a step up into the world of sedans, this is a fairly good entry proposition. You should also bear in mind that Hyundai has been facing, how would I say it, well, a lot of their cars have been entering the app-based taxi services, and because of that, its value amongst private owners has been diminishing rapidly, and Hyundai definitely needed to catch up to the competition and of course offer their consumers something newer, something a little more exciting, something that was unique, and this facelift essentially does that. So I think they've done a fairly good job of it. All put together, the cosmetic changes, the mechanical changes, they're all a very well done job indeed, and definitely worth looking into again in the private car ownership segment.